May 7, 1945, 2:00 a.m. A shaking hand holds a fountain pen over a document. The signature that's about to be written will end the deadliest war in human history. The clock says 2:41. We can't
What's the
delay.
status?
Are we
Possibly.
compromised?
We need to
Agreed.
move now.
Let's go. Expecting to be treated like royalty, and instead got a master class in humiliation. The eastern flank is exposed.
We must reposition.
Agreed. But our reserves are low. What about a counter on the left? To deliver one final, crushing blow to the Third Reich. The scene was a converted schoolhouse in Reims, France. Red brick walls, cigarette smoke hanging in the air. Maps covering every surface. This unlikely location, Supreme Headquarters, Allied Expeditionary Force. This ridge is key flank here. Agreed. I'll reroute. Reserves ready,
Do
sir.
it.
Update maps. Adolf Hitler had taken his own life in his Berlin bunker on April 30, 1945. You'd think that would be the end. It wasn't Grand Admiral Karl Doenitz. Hitler's designated successor had set up a government in Flensburg, near Denmark, and Doenitz still believed Germany held cards worth playing. His strategy was cunning. Surrender to the Western Allies, America and Britain, but continue fighting the Soviet Union in the East. The logic seemed sound to him. The Americans and British were civilized. Surely they'd want to preserve the German military as a buffer against Soviet expansion. Surely they'd help save German soldiers from Stalin's vengeance. Doenitz summoned his top military strategist, Colonel General Alfred Jodl. The mission was clear. Travel to Eisenhower's headquarters, engage in negotiations, and most importantly, stall. Every hour of delay meant more German troops could retreat westward, away from the Red Army. Jodl accepted the assignment with confidence. He'd been Hitler's chief of operations for 6 years. He'd planned invasions, coordinated campaigns, signed orders that sent millions to their deaths. Now, he would negotiate Germany's future. In his mind, this would be a meeting between military professionals, brandy handshakes, mutual respect among warriors. He had no idea what was coming. Before Jodl arrived, the Germans sent Admiral Hans-Georg von Friedeberg as an advanced negotiator. On May 5, Friedeberg arrived expecting diplomatic protocols. Instead, he was escorted to a bare room with wall-to-wall maps showing German forces in complete disarray. Waiting for him was General Walter Bedell Smith, Eisenhower's chief of staff and notorious hatchet man. Smith suffered from ulcers, had a volcanic temper, and possessed zero tolerance for Nazi nonsense. Friedeberg attempted his pitch. We wish to surrender forces in northern Germany to your command, but we must continue operations against the Bolsheviks. Smith's response was immediate and devastating. Unconditional surrender on all fronts simultaneously. Nothing is acceptable. Friedeberg tried appealing to anti-Soviet sentiment, painting the Red Army as barbarians. Smith gestured to the maps. Admiral, at your position. You command nothing but ghosts and ruins. The admiral broke down weeping, claiming he lacked authorization for total surrender. Smith sent him back with clear instructions. Send someone with actual authority, and send them immediately. On May 6, late afternoon, Jodl's car arrived. Unlike Friedeberg, he showed no weakness. He surveyed the American headquarters with barely concealed contempt. This was a man accustomed to power, wearing his iron cross and monocle like armor. He was shown to the war room, a former classroom, now dominated by a ping-pong table draped with green cloth. This makeshift furniture would serve as the surrender table. Jodl's first question, where is General Eisenhower? The answer stunned him. The Supreme Commander will not meet with you. You'll negotiate with General Smith. This was a calculated insult. Jodl outranked Smith by refusing to appear. Eisenhower was making a statement. You're not a dignitary, you're a defendant. Behind his closed office door, Eisenhower sat waiting, smoking. refusing to breathe the same air as the Nazi leadership. Until Germany's surrender was complete, Jodl sat down and played his cards. We'll surrender Western forces, but our Eastern armies cannot be ordered to stop fighting the troops for Soviet capture and may refuse to obey surrender orders. We need time, perhaps 48 hours, to organize an orderly cessation of hostilities. It was manipulation dressed as pragmatism. Those 48 hours would allow panzer divisions to escape eastward, preserving German military strength for some imagined future. Bedell Smith returned to Eisenhower's office. With Jodl's proposal, Eisenhower stopped pacing, his face flushed with anger. He'd anticipated this exact scheme. His response was unequivocal. Smith returned to the war room and stood over the German general. General Eisenhower's answer is no. No delays, no phased surrender, no negotiations. Jodl attempted to interject. Smith slammed his hand on the table. Listen carefully. You will sign unconditional surrender immediately. If you refuse, the Supreme Commander will seal the Western Front. Every German soldier trying to cross our lines will be forced back straight into Soviet hands. The blood drained from Jodl's face. Smith continued, we will also cease accepting German civilian refugees. This was checkmate. Millions of German civilians were fleeing westward, terrified of Soviet forces. If Eisenhower closed the borders, those refugees would be trapped. The message was brutally clear. Sign now, or watch your people perish. Jodl requested permission to contact Doenitz. His coded radio message was terse. Eisenhower demands immediate unconditional surrender. Threatens to seal borders. No alternatives exist. Require authorization to sign. Hours crawled by. Coffee grew cold. Ashtrays overflowed finally. Near midnight, Doenitz's response arrived. You are authorized to sign at 2:41 a.m. May 7, 1945. Cameras flooded the room with light. Reporters jostled for position. The surrender document lay on the table. Surprisingly brief and direct. Jodl's hand trembled slightly as he lifted the pen. He signed Alfred Jodl. Other officers added their signatures. The war that had consumed 60 million lives ended with ink on paper. But Jodl wanted the final word. Standing, he addressed the Allied officers in English. With this signature, the German people and armed forces are delivered into the victor's hands. In this war of more than 5 years, both sides have achieved and suffered more than perhaps any other people in the world. He was appealing for sympathy, framing Germans as fellow sufferers. He mentioned nothing of concentration camps, occupied nations, or deliberate atrocities. The room responded with frozen silence. Not one officer nodded or spoke. Realizing his plea had failed, Jodl saluted and turned to leave. Then came the words he had been waiting for. General Eisenhower will see you now. Jodl straightened his uniform, his confidence returning finally. Recognition between military equals. He entered Eisenhower's office. The Supreme Commander stood behind his desk towering. Expressionless, he didn't smile. He didn't offer a seat, and crucially, he didn't extend his hand to a German officer. The handshake represented honor and mutual respect. Its absence was a declaration. You deserve neither. Eisenhower's voice was ice. You understand the surrender terms, Jodl. You understand that all German forces must cease fire immediately, and any violations will be severely punished. Jodl. Eisenhower stared at him in silence. Then that is all a dismissal. Like dismissing a subordinate, a servant, Jodl saluted. Eisenhower waited before giving the slightest nod. In return, guards escorted the German general out. The arrogance had evaporated. He finally understood to the Allies. He wasn't a great military mind. He was simply a defeated criminal. Once Jodl departed, champagne appeared. Eisenhower's staff celebrated, but the Supreme Commander had one final task. His staff had drafted elaborate victory announcements, filled with soaring rhetoric. He took a blank page and wrote 5 words that became legendary. This mission of this Allied force was fulfilled. Simple, true, perfect. The fates of those present diverged dramatically. Admiral Friedeberg swallowed poison 2 weeks later. Unable to bear the shame, Jodl was arrested, tried at Nuremberg for war crimes, and hanged. In 1946, the man who signed the surrender died on the gallows. Eisenhower became President of the United States, the man who refused to shake a Nazi led the free world. The Reims surrender transcended legal formality. It was a moral declaration. Eisenhower's refusal to treat Jodl as an equal established that the Nazis weren't merely defeated opponents, they were criminals against humanity. That refused handshake washed the Allied cause clean. It separated honorable soldiers from those who'd served evil. It was the ultimate insult and the ultimate justice. History remains divided. Some argue Eisenhower should have shown diplomatic grace. Most agree he was absolutely right.